I call the Honourable Maggie Berry.
Mr Speaker, this government is very ably led by John Key, and as we heard in the Prime Minister's statement, New Zealand is in good shape and it's getting better all the time. And that's something we believe in very strongly on this side of the House. We have a plan, we have a program, and we are rolling it out. I need to look no further than my own 3 portfolios to see evidence of the fact that New Zealand is in very good heart. I think that for my call today, I'm going to concentrate on some of the aspects of my 3 portfolios, give an indication of the challenges and priorities that fit into what the Prime Minister was saying for our broad vision of where New Zealand is heading. So I have the great privilege of being the Minister of Conservation, Arts, Culture and Heritage and Seniors. It's the first time in New Zealand's parliamentary history that one minister has held the portfolios of conservation and arts, culture and heritage at the same time. So it gives me the unique opportunity to explore not only what our flora and fauna do by way of defining us on the world stage, but also how we see ourselves as New Zealanders, what defines us, what matters to us. And in this year of the World War 100 commemoration, the 100th anniversary of the outbreak of World War I, we look back at the crucible of how our nationhood was forged and how important it was for us as a fledgling colonial nation to step forward out of the shadows and be a nation in our own right because of the bravery and commitment of our soldiers. And I'll touch on that later. And on the importance of the contribution that seniors have made to New Zealand society, because we would not be where we are today without their talent, their skill, their hard work and their unfailing energy and belief in the values that underpin the society that we are today. I'd like to begin though by talking about conservation, because it is by telling our stories in conservation that we can connect with people and really, I think, highlight the issues and challenges that are important to our everyday lives. To win the hearts and minds of New Zealanders around our conservation challenges mean that we need to engage with the science. We need to understand the problems that exist and how they can be solved. We need to understand why it's so important that government leads, but that communities and partners and volunteers join together to combat the problems that we have. One of the latest examples that I have seen as the incoming Minister of Conservation was launched last year by my predecessor, Dr. Nick Smith, and it was called Battle for Our Birds. And that was a very deliberate way of describing the challenge that lay ahead of us at that time. Because what we needed to do was not to get bogged down in the emotional arguments around the toxicity of some of the methods that we use to combat the pests that were going to be engulfing and literally extinguishing our at-risk birds, but to rise above that, to concentrate on the science, to look at the fact that we have very good baiting, very good trapping, and the very good 1080 used in an aerial drop sense that will, in hard-to-reach places, really make it the only method that we can use in some of those places to annihilate the rats and the stoats and to a certain extent the possums as well. Because as people will recall last year, there was a beach mast, which meant that there was an epic plague of biblical proportions of rats that needed to be exterminated. I'm happy to report that the predator control that we employed with Battle for Our Birds worked very well, and the results have showed that we've successfully knocked back the rat and stoat numbers, and that's allowed our native bird populations, and bats for that matter, to breed over the summer and to proliferate and do what nature intended them to do, and that's multiply instead of being exterminated by eco-invaders. In addition to extensive pest control, given my background and interest in plants, I've really tried to concentrate our resources and our thoughts a little bit more into protecting our endangered plant species. And once again, it is about controlling eco-invaders. We have what I would call the war on weeds, which is about to be rolled out. We've identified, again, what I call the dirty dozen, the weeds that have choked New Zealand plants and forests for a very long period of time. And really, we are talking about plants, not politicians on the other side of the house. We need to really combat these eco-invaders for the Greens' benefit. We've got Clematis vitabilis, and that is the old man's beard, as it's known. These are plants that have botanic names and common names, and we do need to ensure that they are kept well under control. control. Wilding pines are another problem. We have invested, and I acknowledge the work that has been done in this space by the Minister for Primary Industries, Nathan Guy. We really need to get to grips with the problem of wilding pines. These are the ultimate garden escapees. These were conifers that were planted in order to hold back erosion, all of these good ideas, shelter belts and so forth. But because they did so well in this wonderful country of ours with its climate, they have proliferated. So they've seeded too well. And you can have too much of a good thing. So we spend a lot of money, about $10 million a year, on combating weeds. About a third of that is on wilding conifer control. The rest of it is on the sort of sites that we need to concentrate on to really save our endangered plants. So I'm focusing more time and attention on that in the next year. And I take great heart from Project Crimson, which was, as some of you might recall, launched about 20 years ago. And what that did was, at the time, Pohutukawa trees were threatened to the point where people felt that they would disappear from the north. That's not a science fiction made-up dramatisation. That was the real deal. That's how much damage possums have done to our native plants. The Pohutukawa was in danger. Project Crimson is a great blueprint and one which has reminded me of the importance of getting together with the Department of Conservation, an early partner in that. We also get together with partners that can provide money and expertise and communities and volunteers. As a group, as a force, government can't do it all, and they achieved remarkable things with Project Crimson. And it was an honour for me last week at Government House to actually present prizes to the people who had, and to acknowledge them and value the work that they had done in Project Crimson. And I remind the House and people out there in New Zealand today about Project Crimson, because there are those who are pessimistic about our ability to save the kauri. Kauri dieback is a disease that we don't know very much about, and it's very complicated. We have put a lot of money now, some $26 million, into trying to find out what causes it, how it arrived here, how to contain it, and really what to do about trying to stop its spread. At the moment, we have emphasised and really added extra urgency to this by putting in proper signage so that people know that they need to clean their boots, spray on disinfectant, do what they can to not spread this disease, which is a soil-borne pathogen, from tree to tree. We have contained and confined the disease where we see it by closing off parks, by continuing public education, and along with the Minister of Primary Industries again, with the Kauri Dieback Management Program, we're spending $26.5 million. We're rolling that out now. We've appointed now, I've just done this in Whangarei, designated individual who's leading a team who are really working hard to ensure that that program will do what it needs to do. So we will be, and you can expect to see this, more areas of bush contained and confined. And as I've travelled around the country and have seen the work that partners have been doing in saving kiwis, for example, I'm going to be working more with those people and with iwi as well. The urgency really, I suppose, that Kauri Dieback has brought to the notion of protecting the north has, I think, added impetus to the notion of having a national park. So I'm stepping up the work that was done by my predecessor, Nick Smith, in trying to get that Waipua National Kauri Park established to make our 10th one. Parks are good for people, they're good for our health. Our oceans are the next challenge. I'll be releasing very soon a public discussion document about the recreational fishing reserves, seabed reserves, and as well as that species-specific ones. That's coming out in the next few weeks. We will also be looking at arts, culture and heritage priorities around World War 100, around our heritage sites, and again, preserving and protecting what we have and spreading the word. This is a young country. We are a young nation, but we have a proud history. And I will be engaging with the heritage groups and people commemorating the 175th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi to really spread the message. And those are the sort of challenges that are coming up in the moment. The positive ageing strategy, which we're rolling out at the moment for seniors, concentrates on areas to do with valuing our seniors, not looking at them as if they're some kind of disadvantage. 660,000 New Zealanders are a very important part of our population, and we need need to be very aware of the problems to do with elder abuse and social isolation. These are difficult issues, but this government, led by John Key, is making sure that we address them. We are not going to leave our elderly in a situation where they're living with dementia, living with social stigma, and living in a way that is not befitting of the wonderful contribution they have made to New Zealand society.